Abusua and then so my kwa wasonko so about POG Media. And yɛremɛkɔ highway ne so highway ne deɛ nsɛm bebree wɔ so a yɛn nso yɛagye pɛnɛ sɛ yɛbɛme abadwafoɔ no ahu deɛ ɛrekɔ ɛne deɛ ɛreba na dɛn na ɛrekɔ so ɛwɔ highway ne so. Ɛyɛ Professor Naana Agyeman. Saa maame no deɛ the way a Ghanafoɔ aso ne mu, the way a Ghanafoɔ nsi ne fam no ɛnyɛ easy. Professor Naana Agyeman ɛkɔkɔpie mu wɔ Central Region ɛyɛ UCC University of Cape Coast School mu a nipa a edi maame n'akyi osi a ɔmobɔ maame no a ɛnyɛ asɛm ketewa koraa na ɔsan so ɛde speech bi ɛto dwa na ne speech na ɔde to dwa no Ghanafoɔ ɛrebɔgye ne so sɛ adwene no a anaasɛ nimdeɛ a maame no anim no ɔmo nhu saa nimdeɛ no bi da. Yɛbɛpɛ sɛ yɛbɛme abadwafoɔ no bɛme akɔ na yɛakɔ akɔtie nsɛm a ɛrekɔ so ɛwɔ highway no so na ansa na yɛbɛkɔ no wowɔ nsɛmkan bi a fa hyɛ yɛ comment section like share ma afoforɔ so ɛnsa ntumi ɛnka bi. Aha ɛyɛ POG Media. Madam ase.
They used to get very high grades, and I hope they are maintaining them. And that is why we should all applaud them. We should all applaud custodians. They keep an eye on the game, they also keep an eye on the study. And that is the way it should be. So after this dramatic opening, I just want again to greet all of you individually and to acknowledge you, but especially to acknowledge the 10 members. 10 UCC, where are you? You should clap for yourselves. You are doing an excellent job. Now 10 UCC members, please come and join. There's room for all of you. Come along. Come along, let's build the country we want. Let's build the Ghana we want together. There's space for everyone. And I also want to acknowledge the beloved students. I think I saw some high school students here. Are they here? Yes, I want to thank you for coming along and for coming to this presentation. I had a few comments, before I go on to formally address you, I just wanted to pick an issue or two that my predecessors have raised, and they were all talking about funds for graduate studies. It's very important. And in my speech, or in the speech I'm going to read on behalf of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, you'll see the efforts we make towards reaching. It means that we still have the capacity and we can do the same. So let me also extend the apologies of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama for not being here with you today. He sends his apologies. As until yesterday, about 7 or 8 or so, we knew he was going to come. But until I got to this position myself, sometimes I couldn't understand why some of the last minute changes would occur. But now I do. So please accept the apology. And he's asked me to stand in for him. And I'm happy to accept the responsibility for many reasons. One of them is that it is about the youth. Any party that does not prioritize the youth has lost its way. It is about the youth. It is about education. When you care about the youth, you offer them quality education. The kind of education that will take them far. You tell them the truth. The kind of truth that you can stand on. You don't tell them lies for the sake of expediency. So that when the difficulties come, you abandon them midstream. We will tell you the truth. And we urge you to work with us. That's also part of the reason why I'm happy to be here. Of course, another reason is that I'm coming back home. This is UCC. I'm noticing the name. It is still the new lecture examination center. So it's still the new one. We all know the history. When we decided we will no longer have graduation outside in the heat of the sun, when parents have traveled long distances, and therefore we must build something for the parents to sit, for the students to sit, and we completed the auditorium of the School of Medical Sciences. So many more people could also sit there and have screens, because their children have done well, and we don't think parents should be sitting in the sun or sitting in the rain. And I'm happy that it is still new. So I urge we need another one. It's all about showing respect. It's all about acknowledging efforts. And I'm very happy to be here today, back at UCC, back where I've spent all my life, and back where so many things have happened. I want to commend UCC again for all the glories you are talking. It doesn't surprise some of us. We knew that if we put the emphasis on research, so you see why I'm always passionate about research. If we put the emphasis on research, the university can fly. And I'm glad you are in flight. Keep flying, because there's so much more that you can do. Thank you all very, very much. They're also emphasizing research, and I'll come to that in the speech. But definitely, you are not making any policy statement without research. And data is information. It's not only the figures. It's about the qualitative, it's about the quantitative, and anything in between. Then you get a proper eyes view of what it is that you should modify, you should review, yes, not maybe cancel. You should make stronger, you should make better. And that is what we need to be doing as a country. Thank you very much. So on these few remarks, I'd like to read the speech as provided by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. So having observed the protocols, so the eye here is the eye of His Excellency. Okay? I thank you for inviting me to participate in the Presidential Policy Series, lecture series of the Graduate Students Association of Ghana, GRASAG. I find this platform very strategic and timely because it offers me the chance of interacting with and listening to a category of students who, by virtue of research skills, high-level knowledge, relevant to all aspects of our economy, and skills in critical thinking, are better placed in critiquing policies and offering instructive suggestions for policy making and policy reviews. I attach great importance to graduate education because graduate students are a great asset to national development. Indeed, as the Association of African Universities, AAU, articulated in its 2009 Abuja Declaration on Sustainable Development in Africa, university education is critical in addressing the continent's sustainability challenges. Later, in the year 2000, our own son of the land, the late Kofi Annan, had challenged Africa to make university education central to its development agenda. And I quote him, "The university must become a primary tool for Africa's development in the new century. Universities can help develop expertise. They can enhance the analysis of African problems, strengthen domestic situations, serve as a model environment for the practice of good governance, conflict resolution, and respect for human rights, and enable African academics to play an active part in the global community of scholars." End of quote. From the foregoing, it is very clear that university education is critical in developing the critical requisite knowledge and skills for coping with the challenges facing our country. The university's impact on national development is seen through its task of knowledge generation through research. Indeed, in the 21st century, we cannot talk about a university education without referring to research-based graduate studies. This is because graduate research findings, if applied to innovation, will impact greatly on policy formulation and policy implementation, thereby contribute to solving the socio-economic challenges facing our country. It is in this light that I place high premium on today's engagement, which offers me the opportunity to articulate my vision for the development of young people in our country within the context of education. I have no doubt, ladies and gentlemen, that the Graduate Students Association of Ghana plays a key role in promoting academic, professional, and socio-economic growth among graduate students on campuses of the various universities. Since membership of GRASAC is made up of students who are largely pursuing research-based programs, I have no doubt that a priority need of the association relates to one key question, which is what policies can best provide adequate resources to support student research activities. This question is critical because it is through research activities that theses and dissertations, which are very crucial elements for both master's and doctoral students, are produced. As I earlier intimated, quality research findings documented in theses and dissertations, if disseminated, has the strength of contributing immensely towards policy making and developing the service and productive sectors of our economy. For the nation to maximize the benefits, For the nation to maximize the benefits of graduate research, therefore, it is important that an innovation index research culture is promoted in our universities. This can be possible if the universities, GRASAC leading the way, and the government collaborate in providing requisite informational, mentoring, administrative, and resource support for students. The Center for this support is resource, which has policy implications in terms of supporting universities and other tertiary institutions to expand facilities for research. It is against the important role by research in national development and the need to create a sustained resource base to support research in our universities that, as former president, I provided leadership through the Ministry of Education to initiate a bill in Parliament for the establishment of a national research fund. Largely, the bill sought to help researchers, including young lecturers especially, research fellows and graduate students too in our universities, to access adequate research funding opportunities to build their capacities in research grant proposal writing too. Unfortunately, the bill was received with propaganda, and the rationale behind it twisted and misrepresented as a move to scrap the book and research fund. In fact, I remember some even went to town to say that we have scrapped it when we never did. Now you see where we all are. Now you see our life. Notwithstanding that, the NDC government under my leadership has not issued any policy statements on scrapping the book and research allowance. And indeed, by 2016, book and research allowances had been paid to beneficiaries. Even though this had been done, the NPP took advantage of the National Research Bill being introduced in an election year and championed the campaign against it. Ironically, When the NPP took over the leadership in 2017, they pursued the very bill they had demonized in 2016 and got it passed by Parliament as the National Research Fund Act. Nevertheless, the end to the National Research Fund and will ensure that it becomes operational when we are voted back to office. In addition to the National Research Fund, the NDC, motivated by its social democratic principles, introduced financial support schemes with the aim of reducing financial burden on students. It did so by extending the student loan scheme to cover students in all tertiary institutions and increase the amount. By 2016, the minimum loan amount had been increased from 650 to 1,000 and the maximum from 1,600 to 3,000. The NDC will continue to put in measures that will ensure that students are able to access the loan early enough before they commence their study. Also, we offered approximately 1,130 scholarships to students to pursue graduate studies unavailable in the country, such as specializations in health, medicine, and allied health specializations abroad. Let me emphasize that quality research among faculty and graduate students cannot be promoted to meet the policy needs of our country when universities lack adequate research or resources to support research initiatives. Hence, the NDC, while in government, commenced an initiative geared towards increasing the capacity of tertiary institutions across the country. The initiative led to the establishment of the University of Energy and Natural Resources in the Bono region and a new and permanent campus for the University of Health and Allied Sciences in the Volta region, and commenced arrangements for the establishment of UHA School of Pharmacy in Keta. We also converted polytechnics to technical universities and caused Parliament to pass the University of Environment and Sustainable Development Act, which led to the establishment of a university in Somenya and a presidential charter granted to Central University to operate as a university. And in 2025, the NDC will continue with its facility expansion agenda by ensuring that satellite campuses in existing universities based on proximity and program relevance will gradually be established in the newly created regions. I hope we are paying attention to that. In teacher education, we passed the Colleges of Education Act to upgrade teacher training colleges to tertiary institutions and went on to abolish the quota system in the Colleges of Education to allow the colleges to admit to full capacity. By so doing, reduce the number of untrained teachers and be able to offer quality education to the very young people in our country. By 2016, when we left office, enrollment in the Colleges of Education had increased by 63.8%, thereby reducing the trained teacher deficit in our basic schools. Related to this, we reviewed operations of the Student Loan Trust Fund to allow teacher trainees to access the fund like their counterparts in the universities and other tertiary institutions. The trainee allowance was not abolished. Teacher trainees had the option to take the loans or the teacher trainee allowance, and as in 2016, many people understanding the implications of what they were doing, we had over 7,100 teacher trainees which has accessed the fund. Like the Research National Fund, however, NPP twisted and misrepresented the rationale for the introduction of the student loans for political advantage and promised to restore the teacher training allowance when voted into power. You and I know the history, and we know the practice. The restoration promise was hailed by many students on campuses of colleges of education. Though the NPP successfully restored the teacher training allowances, its implementation has been challenging. By 2022, for instance, the government had defaulted payment for about 7 months, with the Teacher Training Association of Ghana, TTAG, expressing deep concern about how the delayed payment was compounding the economic challenges facing trainees across the country. When Ghanaians give us the leadership mantle in 2024, and I hope and I pray you will, or you will not, we shall continue to provide teacher trainees options, and they will begin to feel, or they will continue to feel their own status as tertiary students and no longer glorified secondary school teachers or trainers. Ladies and gentlemen, the other issue I'm sure GRASAC members will be interested in is the NDC's policy on the teacher licensing exam. In 2014, under my leadership, the Ministry of Education introduced a policy on teacher professional development and management, leading to the commencement of a process of teacher professionalism and licensing. This was based on the premise that it takes both content and practice to build a professional teacher and enhance teacher professionalism. Our model sought to provide a provisional license to all qualified graduates of colleges of education to practice, not as national service persons on national service allowance, but as provisional teachers on salaries. On assumption of office in 2017, again, the NPP introduced a paper and pencil mode of professional licensing, which requires all graduates of colleges of education to be subjected to a 6-hour written exam on grade level professional pedagogy for 2 hours, multiple subjects, that is content, and single subject specialization on another 2 hours, and general professional knowledge 2 hours. Based on this 6-hour exam, a teacher's level of professionalism is completely determined. While I agree that the Education Regulators Act mandates the National Teaching Council to conduct a licensure examination for the purpose of issuance of professional licenses to teachers, the NDC, of which I'm flag bearer, strongly posits that it does not take a 6-hour paper and pencil exam to ensure teacher professionalism. In this light, the NDC will initiate processes towards cancellation of the post-college teacher licensure exam. As a party, we find the current mode of licensure examination as an affront to the colleges of education. What is the sense in engaging very qualified tutors, paying them to develop and train teachers for our basic and secondary schools, get the teacher trainees to take initial standard exams, spend money to graduate, and award certificates to those who pass the initial standard exam, and then turn around to subject them to another paper and pencil exam? What we wanted to do was to turn the whole process into a quality assurance assurance mechanism and not a sit-down exam. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, please permit me to draw the attention of GRASAC to the fact that it has great responsibility to its members. Therefore, they can and must be encouraged to explore ways through which they can enhance student academic support services such as peer mentoring, entrepreneurial capacity building and strengthening, opportunities, empowering local branches of the association to establish functional writing and proofreading centers. These resources would assist graduate students in navigating academic challenges, improving their research skills, and enhancing their overall academic performance. In addition to these, GRASAC must take an active role in promoting research and innovation. This is possible when GRASAC sets up its own research support funds through which needy members of the association can be held. And this is beside the point, but I can assure GRASAC when they take this step, they'll get a lot of support from both internal and external sources. And I'm speaking from experience because when we were pushing the research bill, if we didn't get the pushback from academia, we have so many organizations, funders, Ghanaian, non-Ghanaian especially, who are willing to put it in, but they wanted the government to take the step. So academic facility, members here, the ball is in your court. I wish to reiterate that postgraduate students are great access to our nation. The nation can minimize the benefits associated with dissertations of their colleagues are not left on the shelf. The association should support graduates to communicate their research findings through policy briefs and other available means. On this note, I wish you a sustained presidential policy lectures series. Long live GRASAC, long live tertiary education, long live Ghana. Thank you. And now I come to a few remarks. We know it's our children who are at home. We know it's our youth that don't have jobs. We know it's our economy in shock, actually in crisis. So what do you do? When your back is against the wall, what do? You don't just fall down and die. You look at the little energy left in you and you work with it. And that's what we are going to do. How many industries, for example, are on their feet, even if they are wobbling? What do you do to raise them up? You give them support. You become intentional about their survival. You make sure that if they were employing 4 people, it is possible for them to employ 8 people. You make sure that if they are having 1 shift, you find out why it's 1 shift, why it cannot be 3 shifts. You sit down with them, and we have sat down, and I'm not surprised that many of the trade unions have come to embrace this and are willing to walk the talk with us. Yes, it is only a government that cares about the youth that invests properly in the youth. And what do we mean by that? You invest in the education not for expediency. You invest in education to give them the kind of certificate they can walk out of the country and stay in the country with. You offer them the education that builds their confidence. You offer them the education that moves with the times. So when we're talking about the million coders, we are not just joking. You offer, why is it that somebody abroad can find a job in Ghana? How many of you have found jobs abroad? So what do you need? Without physically moving there. Many of them don't have to come here. And many of you, please stay, you don't have to go. There will be opportunities for you. And we need all of you to collaborate with us. We need all of you to collaborate with us to build the Ghana that we all want. to build the Ghana. Even if we go, we'll come back to and be happy that we are back home. Thank you very much. Law faculty. I knew then that Makola was changed. It was very clear from the number of students who qualified, who applied, and who were admitted. So I knew that my children were going to suffer. So what did I do? I engaged the then Chief Justice several times in her office. And what I wanted her to do, which she started doing, was to upgrade the courts. Because I was joking when I told her that, no, I want my students to go to Chapel Square and not to Naana. That we have some courts here. What do we need to raise those courts? To what level should they be so that students can be trained there? Instead of all of them crowding at Naana, we started the process. I left. And in our 2020 manifesto, seeing the problem was still persisting, we were going to set up the law schools, not centralize them in one place, but to decentralize them. Send them to many more places. Why should everybody go to Mahama? But as I say, they are still in our manifesto. So it depends on you and I to bring that out, so the suffering will stop. The second, somebody wants to know why teachers got their monies deducted from their salaries for laptops. Well, we didn't deduct them. And we have no plans in our manifesto to deduct your money. What we did was to supply teachers free laptops. I was in the ministry and I know for a fact. We gave the laptops for free. And the laptops are not fanciful things. The laptops are supposed to aid teaching. So the question I ask myself is that if I'm a math teacher and I'm having difficulty teaching differential equation, how does my laptop help me? So we found the schools that were doing well in math. We found the teachers. We held workshops. We wanted to record the process in which they teach the subjects that our children avoid during WAEC. We did all that homework and we isolated the questions the students will never touch. And we wanted to know why don't they touch them. Because what it means is that if in section A, there are 2 questions, 1 or 2, and your students never pick question 2, it means they don't have a choice. How are they going to pass? Assuming they don't like the first one. So that is why even in the schools, we put the laptops in trolleys and we will put them in the headmaster's office. And we said, okay, just like the sports teacher may come for equipment, if the IT teacher needs to teach, let him come for the laptops, teach and then send them back. So when we built the e-blocks, and we put the science, we put the lab, the IT departments in. We also trained IT teachers. Not that you know how to turn on the computer so you can teach IT. That's not what this is about. You have to train them to know how to teach and to know how to teach for a purpose. So my friend, we will return to that again and we will push it forward when you all support us together. Somebody also wants to know how about undergraduate research and their support. You see, when we are setting up something like the National Research Fund, my thinking is that it's a research institute that will apply for them. Universities are not glorified secondary schools. With all apologies. They are places where knowledge is generated, and the knowledge is generated through research. So if I'm the lead researcher, I can employ graduate students to work with me. That is how a lot of us went abroad, and we worked with professors who were the lead researchers. I can also look at my topic and realize that, oh, there are 3 undergraduates somewhere who can join my research team. That is how the research is built up. So it's not money for a few people just to get and share. That's not what it's about. So you see, and that being the case, the government will have a hand in the research that is done. It is done everywhere. Or the company, if the company decides I'm producing pure water, I need a lab that tells me the purity of the water every 3 months. I need researchers to do that for me. Then that is what it will be. And if the government approves, the government will allow that researcher to apply for the fund. If the government decides it's sanitation, and you have the lead researchers, and you have your team of researchers, they are not always your peers. There'll be a few who are your peers, but then because it's government money, government will be very interested that the lead researcher employs younger people. So the younger people will also learn. So he will use some of the research fund to pay the colleagues or to give them the support they need. In fact, they can sponsor whole graduate students for the entire duration of their studies on their funding. And that is what we try to do. So then it should also have gone down. That being the case, you cannot decide that, oh, this is what I want to do. That's also okay. But then you don't oblige somebody to fund that. If what we are hearing is true, that half the companies are fleeing Ghana, somebody wants to know why. What is going on? What is wrong? What can we do? Do we need them here? Should they go? If they leave, who will replace? Who is ready to replace? What do we do? It's all through research. And you need you need those who just go around and administer questionnaires. You need those who will analyze them. You need those who contextualize them. You need those who do the methodology. So many aspects of research that we need in order to get the findings that can truly affect policy if necessary. Yeah, somebody is also saying that there is inefficiency in productivity. I'm sure he's talking about the status of some of our SMEs and the difficulties they are facing. I think there are many issues, but I think a fundamental one will have to do with considering merit as critical in placing people. So I keep telling young people, learn all you can learn. Learn all you can learn. Make yourself as efficient as you can. That will open doors. Don't rush into positions that you are not ready for. That will not help. So merit is important. And having appointed the person on merit, that's not enough. How about what is the person supposed to do? What are the KPIs? To whom does he report? How often must he do a report? You see, when you get a head who insists on that, some of us will say she's too low. Haven't you said that? Or her dream to do. So those who don't want to have a dream, that's where we will end. How about accountability? To whom is that person accountable? How did you find the place and how are you living it? And I'm sure when we insist on some of these, as it is done everywhere, we may begin to see results. So please, as I said, learn all you can. And the licensure exam, what do we mean by the quality assurance? Actually, when I moved to the ministry, I was surprised to find that, at the tertiary level, we have the National Accreditation Board. And what does it do? It assures quality. And I was surprised to find that, so rather, the pre-tertiary level doesn't have like a body that takes care of that. There are other ways in which they do it, but I thought a body might be necessary. Then I found the Article 778, the 3 branches, and there was nothing about that. So when I saw the licensure exam, I asked myself, but I've also been on the academic board of NCT, we assure quality. So what has gone wrong? What is it that we need to know? So if this has already been approved by Parliament, it's already done. I cannot go and change it. So how do we implement it? That is why I felt that the gap of quality assurance should be filled. And how do you fill it? I'm a teacher. It's a skilled profession, like many. So if you sit me down for 6 hours and I write an exam, I don't think that's enough. I thought that one practical way would be, let's say I'm due for promotion. What shows that I'm ready to be promoted? Why can't I get a team of maybe 3 to come and observe your teaching, to come and observe how you relate to your students, what homework you give them, what feedback they get, how you relate to your peers, how about your superiors? What makes you a complete teacher? And I thought that may be something that we can do periodically, not every year, maybe every 5 years or thereabouts, to fill in the gap of quality assurance. So that was one way we had. But again, many of you kept us on the back burner, so it didn't happen. I think I've answered all the questions now. Yeah, national service, whether they should get more money or not. I think that is a serious question, and it's a very important question. My response would be, let's say we print money and give it to you. How far would that take you? It won't take you anywhere. Would have satisfied your 1,000. What if we put our efforts into building a stronger economy, where even 200 means a lot? Thank you very much.
abusua wei ne nsɛm a ɛrekɔ so wɔ highway ne so ɛyɛ Professor Naana opoku agyeman na ɛdɔm twitwiri a ɛdi maame n'akyi no onya baabi koraa na ɔde ne ti apie a ɛnyɛ asɛm ketewa koraa ɔkɔ UCC ɛkɔdi nkɔmmɔ bi wɔ hɔ na yɛbɛrɛ abadwafoɔ ase sɛ ɔmogye pene kɔkɔ tie saa audio no aha ɛyɛ POG Media bɛrɛ mo ase.